Hi, and welcome to the Lensrentals podcast, where we talk about images and the people who make them. I'm Roger Sakala, the founder of Lensrentals.com.
Hi, I'm Joey Miller.
And I'm Sarah McAlexander.
And we're here talking today with Josh Moates of the Indie Film Lab down in Montgomery, Alabama. How you doing?
What's up? Let's do it.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
All right, you want to just jump right into this?
Yeah, why not? Right? That's what podcast. They just want to hear us talk about stuff. They don't really care who I am. They just want to hear. Listen.
For those of y'all who aren't familiar, Indie Film Lab is one of the best film processing and scanning labs in the country. They're located just south of us down in Montgomery, Alabama, and Josh runs that fine establishment. How long have you been doing that, Josh?
Oh, a little tear came out of my eye just then. Oh, that sounded so sweet.
You know we love you.
2011, well, 2010 was like the initial idea. I was like, bought a scanner for myself and was like, oh, there needs to be another lab like in our area. And little did I know it was going to, be like a national or actually international thing. But since 2011 is when we really kicked it off. 2012 was the first official year.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what made you want to do this?
That's a good question. Really good question. Because now I'm like, why did I do this? No, I'm just kidding. It's one of those things, man. Like, I mean, I'm a lot like you, man. Like, I like to be a part of the process. So like with film scanning and all that, like, I shot film since like in high school and college, and in college, you get to process your own stuff and do all that. And that was a lot of fun. And when I got back into photography, like as a career, I would shoot film and I would take these big cameras to weddings and like an RZ or something and shoot some film and send it off. And I was like, man, I'm paying like a lot to get this done, and I don't really like how it looks. I'm like, I know there's got to be something in the analog to digital conversion has to be like, I need to control that. I mean, it looked fine, but I was like, I want to see what it's really capable of, really like dig deep,
You like to be real hands-on like me. Like you want to just,
I want to know
a little bit of the process out of it. Yeah. I
don't want to hand it to like the guy behind the curtain and then get it back on the other side. I want to know what he's doing. Like I always like to like, how does it work, or what's the limits of it? Like what's its limitations? What can it really do is what I was most interested in. I was like, man, what can it really, really do? So I bought a scanner and then, was scanning my own work and like, this was like 2009 or
What did
10?
you start with? What were you scanning with?
What's that?
What were you scanning with?
It was the SP2500. So it's like the one before the models that we have here.
Okay. What are you
so
using
it's like
now? You're using like a Frontier and a
Noritsu?
Noritsu? Is that what you got now?
Yeah, we have the SP3000s and the Noritsu HS1800s. But
nice.
This one was the model before the ones that we have now, and it was really slow. It didn't have digital ice. It was dust everywhere. So I would take my film, and it sounds horrible, but I took my film, if we're going to be honest and open with each other. There was a CVS down the street, and I took it there and was like, just process it. Don't scan it or anything. I just need the film to be processed because I didn't have a processor at the time.
Right.
And it was just 35. So she was like,
film?
Just color film. And I was like, just process it. I'll scan it. I just want to see kind of what it can do before I buy a processor. So, they would process it and just roll it back up, and I would take it and scan it and, was like, oh, this is really cool. I could see kind of what's going on and how the software kind of worked and all that good stuff. And I can like make the resolution super, like the high as I can possibly go on the scanner, all that cool stuff. So I just played with it a lot. And then I started getting pretty okay at it. And then I would, post stuff online, like on these film groups and stuff back then. And folks were like, hey, like that looks good. Who scanned it? I was like, well, I did. And they were like, oh, how? And I told them, I had a scanner. And then, they were like, hey, will you scan mine? I was like, oh, no. I don't have time for that. I barely have time for my own stuff, And then it kept kind of coming up a little bit, and I was like, well, maybe, that'd be kind of cool, something to do. It wasn't like I'm gonna get a scanner and start a lab. It was like I'm gonna get a scanner just to see how this works. And then folks started sending in film, and I kind of did a beta stage. I was like, if you want to give us a shot and let us like totally screw your film up or whatever, send it in and we'll see kind of what happens. But it just kind of worked, and then slowly over a few years it just kind of built itself up. But that's kind of a shorter. But that scanner caught fire in our Oh, really? Yeah, it caught fire. I mean, for a second when we put it out, but it caught fire, and then I had to like buy a newer version because I called them. I was like, "Hey, this thing caught." It kind of like started smoking and sparking, and they're like, "Oh, you should have got the 3000. It doesn't do that." And I was like, "Oh, you should have told me that the first time I bought it." But they
doesn't really work for advertising. This scanner sometimes catches on fire.
Yeah. It didn't come with like it wasn't like a little warning on it. It was just like, oh, here you go. Why did you want to buy this? But yeah, and another thing, like when we bought the Noritsus, it's so funny because I called Noritsu and I said, hey, I went to your website and noticed that you have a really fast production scanner. And he's like, yeah, let me look in the warehouse. I'll call you back. Called me, he said, I have one left. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll buy it. And he said, the guy goes, why? I said, because I scan film. That's what we do. And we have like, by this time we had like 3 Frontiers. I was like, we need a Noritsu and for the speed and the color and everything. And he said, why? And I said, well, that's what we're doing. He's like, who's shooting film? This is like an older guy. And I said, oh, well, some people are shooting film. I need the scanner, man. Like that's how like,
hipsters,
someone call you up.
Hipsters are shooting film. It's coming back.
Yeah. It's so funny. Cause like if someone called me and was like, I want to buy this $30,000 thing, I wouldn't ask a question. I mean, yeah. All right. It'll be
yes,
there.
Please buy it.
Dude's like, for real. I was like, well, he showed up when it was being installed. Like he came down, he was like in the area and he came over and there was nice. Film trees hanging up with just tons of film. And he was like, what? It was like the weirdest thing. He was like, why? He was so confused. He didn't know what to say. He was like,
Did he get excited about it at least? Or was he just like,
well, he was like, oh, this is cool. But he was still so confused. He'd walk around and look at the order forms and be like, this is from out of the country. I was like, yeah. He's like, this is from California. You're in Alabama. I was like, yeah. And he's like, this is from this is wild. I was like, yeah, man. So you don't even know like the products you sell, like who's using.
Which that's a great question. Who is tell us, who is the majority of your customer base? Why are people shooting film right now in 2019?
That's a good, I mean, yeah. Well, okay. So in 2012, when it first kind of kicked off for us, we were getting a few orders here and there, and it was kind of slow trickling in. But then it just like 13, we went to WPPI, and actually that's where I met you guys there. I met Joey then. I remember for a fact.
Yeah, I got a free T-shirt out of the deal. Right.
You sure did. You came over there. It's like, can I just like get a shirt? I was like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you had a dude.
That's exactly what I sounded like.
Yeah.
I think it was like a speed graphic set up with an Aero Ectar on, and I was like, I want that. I want
to.
Oh
yeah. I remember that.
Who are you people?
Yeah, you're like, what are you doing? Yeah, I saw you at the booth, and then Sarah came over and she was like, I mean, WPPI is not full of super, I mean, like,
oh, we know,
attractive people, we know. And so she just came up. I was like, oh, this is like, okay, she's cool. All right, here, you can have a shirt.
I'm dying over here.
It's not. It's usually like the dudes that come up and they're like, what do you got free? What do you do? I was like, we scan film. What's that? You got a free shirt? I'm like, no, I don't have one for you.
But that's literally what I said on a shirt. And he was like, do you want the one I'm wearing?
Yeah. I was like, you want this one? Because I was like, I don't have any more. Or was that, I think, yeah. That's anyway.
Wait, didn't you tell us you were going to mail us shirts like later on or something?
I did.
Oh, I did. I got mine.
I thought we did, and then we didn't. But then I saw you guys at that workshop in Tennessee, and then I felt so guilty. I called like right then and had it shipped out.
That's right.
So you got your shirts, but I can get you some more if you need.
So back to the question.
Oh, sorry.
Who are your customers? Who's shooting film and why? Is it majority weddings or are they artists? I mean, I know why I shoot film, but who's the majority and why do you think they're choosing film?
It's a good mix of pros and just consumer or like amateur photographers. It's a good mix. So we have, but let me back up. So like 2012, we would see a lot of, some of the same stuff like wedding shooters or like people who are like going on camping trips and things like that. So we would get like a good mix of like the range from pro and consumer was like a bigger gap. So I noticed like it would be like a wedding or, like a paid gig and then something like just somebody's point and shoot. Right. So what I started noticing like that gap was starting to fill in around 15 and 16. We started to see more people like younger people shooting that were really pumped to shoot. I'm talking like high school, college, right out of college. We would see stuff from, but people trying to be professional. You know what I mean? Like trying to do mimic looks of like professional people. And we see that too now, but it just, at first it was like this big gap because I think the groups that I was in online were all pros. So I'd get a lot of pro stuff. And then some people, I guess, just searched Google and was like, oh, they do film stills, so I'll send it off. But now I think it's like the other day, someone was like, oh, film's kind of coming back. I was like, well, film has been coming back, but now I see a huge ramp. Like this year, last year, the growth has been crazy just because I think it's kind of trickling to like the majority of people, not just pros and like point and shoots. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot more people with like AE1s that they find at a thrift store and they're shooting really cool stuff with it.
More people are seeing more quality work and they want to get on that.
Absolutely. I think that the bigger film has gotten on the like pro end, it's trickling down to people who are like, oh, that's shot on film. I want to do that. I've been, I have this DSLR for the past 5 years. I want to do something different. And I think that mixed with just people that are like, I just want the tangible. I want to shoot something and slow down and all that. But right now, today, we're seeing a super wide range of everything from, weddings to, concert stuff to, literally the gamut, everything. I could go in here and pick out stuff that's from a point and shoot on a road trip to stuff that's, on billboards in New York. Like it's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the people who don't want to be limited by, DSLRs. You can process them certain ways and everything, but I think people just want to shoot something that has that. To me, film has that mature look. It just looks mature. Like it has, you know what I mean? It just looks like what photography to me growing up in the 80s and 90s looked like. You know what I mean? So.
It's definitely an iconic look. And I remember years ago, like the first time I went to WPPI, I think it was in 2011.
Which for people who don't know is a wedding and portrait photographer convention in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's like the biggest one. Everyone comes. There's always these like seminars and stuff you can go to. And I remember I snuck into one with Zacharias talking about stuff.
Oh, cool.
And there were people asking that year and the next year. I saw Jeremy Cowart at Zacharias' studio, and all the people wanted to know was, how do I get that film look? And no one was saying the obvious, which is shoot film. That's how you get that film look.
Right.
But it's definitely a look. It's definitely a different thing, and it's always nice to have another tool in your bag. But
do you think it's here to stay? Do you think this is going to continue to grow and film's just going to like come back like it was, or do you think this is sort of a trend and we just hope it? Or for you, for your business, you hope it lasts as long as it can? Like, what do you really feel?
No, there's nights where I'm like, wake up in a cold sweat, like, oh God, it's going to end. No, I don't really. I don't even really think about it. But when I have thought about it, the work that we get is not trendy work. So, like I'm basing it on like the type of photographers that we have. So, some stuff is, of course, like there's always a trend, but I think it's going to stay because of just the sheer momentum it has. And like Kodak is like back ordered on film, and we're seeing so much. Like if there is a bubble, it's going to be a little ways away. I just feel like the momentum is still strong, but it sure is doing really well right now. So
good.
It's hard to say. It really is.
Let me ask you some more questions about the lab itself.
Okay.
So how big is the lab? Like how many people you got working there? Like how much?
So we have 10 or 11 that's here every day. And then we have people that are offsite that do stuff for us.
Like color correctors and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like with color correction, after we scan the image, we get it as close as possible in Scanner, but there's no way to get it super consistent in Scanner. We do like, color match. We'll color match the whole roll together, or the whole order together.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you're shooting a wedding, it's like the blue dress from the getting ready is the same blue dress at the reception, right? So that's our whole goal, is to match everything up where you don't have to really touch it. So to find quality people, and now with Lightroom and how Lightroom has those smart previews, we can do that all over the world, really. We have a guy in Spain, actually, that color corrects for us, too, so that we can get super killer quality color correctors and not just rely on the workforce in Montgomery, Alabama. But the ones that we have here, some have been here for years, and some are new, and the new people are like, oh my God, this is my favorite job I've ever had. But what sets us apart now, I think, the people that work here and the people that answer the phone, it's the same girl every time, same girl answering the emails. It's like, you know what I mean? Aaron is always back there, like talking to people. Laura Kate's always talking to people. Jackie is in touch with, you send a wedding order in and we're going through 150 rolls of wedding photos. You're not just going to like not hear anything and then get your order. You're gonna get little snippets of like, hey, this dress was in a weird lighting. Would you rather us go cooler with this or lighter with this? Or do you have a cell phone pic of something that we can kind of match up to see kind of what, or a digital shot that you feel like is a true color representation if it's in a weird light? So we have a bunch of communication with like these orders that are like super critical, right? So what I'm hearing is just more, consistency and a personal relationship that they can just call us and be like, hey, this is a little off. Or like, oh, we got it. We got you.
And I love
not
that,
just
by
like,
the way. Sorry,
you know what I mean?
I love getting rolls back and having the notes at the end, like feedback on shots that.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I thought that this was a really nice shot, or just feedback on the roll of film. I've used other labs. Sorry to cheat on you, but I've used other labs, and nobody else gives those sweet little notes. I love it.
How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, even my dinky little orders I've sent you, like just one-offs and shit. I get them back, and I'm like, oh, these people really care.
With that, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about what got you into film, a little bit more about you and your other huge business, the Indie Print Company, and the event you've got coming up. So we'll talk about that after the break.
Sweet.
Hi, I'm Ryan Hill. This is an employee spotlight on Allie Aycock Patterson. Allie, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
What do you do here at Lensrentals?
I do a lot of things. I do inspection of our high-end cinema cameras because they're kind of mission critical. We want to make sure that as soon as they're received, they get inspected to the highest standards possible. I do a lot of working with you in new products, trying to find products that solve problems that we don't currently have solutions for, and curate packages to help people have one-click solutions to things.
And what did you do before you came here?
Immediately before I started working here, I worked at a local news station. For about a year, I worked every position, I think, from the news desk to master control to E&G. Before that, I freelanced exclusively for 2 years in whatever video job I could find.
I also worked in news for a little while before I got here. Do you miss that at all?
Not in the least.
Me neither. I'm good. I'm on the same page.
I see fire like in the distance or smoke, and it's like, this isn't my job. I don't need to know what's happening. I'm going to go the other direction now.
I was not prepared for how stressful live news is.
Yeah.
And not like in a fun Aaron Sorkin way, in like a there are not enough people here and nobody knows what they're doing way.
And I won't call out the news station, but it's the only one in Memphis that has a helicopter. When you throw an aerial photography into a news scenario, especially one that they have Kleenexes under the photog seat so you can plug oil leaks from above you, it just gives a little extra element of drama.
What are some of your favorite pieces of gear to use outside of work?
I actually really love gimbals and large cameras. I think most people find that to be surprising. One of my favorite cameras to go handheld with is the VariCam, even though it's kind of large and I'm not. It's so well balanced that I've literally just run around my backyard chasing my dog at 120 frames per second because why not?
It is it's a great shoulder mount. You
Really?
don't get to like highlight shoulder mounts often, but it's really well balanced. It's soft, but not so soft that it's like weirdly pillowy.
Exactly.
It's great.
The ergonomics of it are really, it's hard, I think, to have something that the ergonomics are so well balanced for all different sizes of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unusual to find something that's such a large cinema camera that really just kind of fits well.
And what is your background in video educationally?
I majored in communications at the University of Memphis and got, the film video side of it as my emphasis. There's not really a degree you can get in Memphis for it. So I graduated in December of 2008 and in the same month started working as an AC on a feature film being shot here in town. It was called Daylight Fades. It was pretty interesting. Definitely, I learned a lot in the first day of being outside in December, and it was overnight shoots and trying to work with CP2s when your fingers are too cold to be able to unlock a PL mount. And then from there, I did a lot of freelance. I worked with a lot of production companies in town. When I started working at Lensrentals, because I'd worked with out-of-towner films like Losers Take All, I'd worked with Wheel of Fortune, I've worked on Toddlers and Tiaras, I've worked on Panda Express commercials. I mean, literally just anything. And so when I started working here, it was like I have all these skill sets and all this experience, and I know all the best people, and now I have all the best gear. And so I literally rolled out of bed one day and was like, why am I not producing and directing? So that's what I did. And I was very careful not to go after clients that I had worked with under other production companies. And so I emailed Hollywood Feed one day and was like, your commercials could be better. And they hired me, which that was maybe one of my favorite projects because we got to see a St. Bernard drool in really slow motion, which was awesome. And then I've done a few music videos for former friends of mine that were very interesting experiences, but I took at least one of them to a film festival, which was fun, which I had never done before. And I think that one now is sitting at close to 400,000 views, which for a small band that's out of Memphis that no one's heard of is pretty good.
Nice. Is there somewhere where we can link to that?
You can. So the song is called Telephile, and the band is Zigadoo Money Clips. I've also done a song called Girl Most Sapien, which was shot primarily in Roger Sakala's house in his bathroom. So, founder of Lensrentals, because he had lots of bathrooms, and that's what the shoot called for.
Well, this has been a spotlight on Allie. Thanks for coming in, and we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. And back to the show.
I slipped in at least one dog reference, and I'm real proud of that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And we're back. All right, Josh, we're going to jump right into your history. Does that work for you?
Yeah, man, let's talk about it.
So you said you started off back in high school or whatever. What really got you wanting to do photography? What got you into film?
In junior high, I got accepted to this art school here in town, which was really cool. It was like a big deal for me, like drawing, visual arts, and things like that. And so when I was in that, I would have to take pictures of stuff or things or people to paint them or draw them later,
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't take that person to my high school class and sit there, So I was like, oh, let me just take these pictures and like paint them or draw them later, right? So I did that, and I would end up I noticed I would take more pictures of people than anything, like just faces. And so I would go paint them later, and then the paintings kind of sucked or whatever, but the photos are kind of cool. Like, I'm looking back, I was like, those paintings are horrible, but the photos are kind of cool. And I was like, this is really neat. And then in college, I just went to like a local college here. And they had a photography course. So I did that and was like drawn to the whole thing. Everybody, typical story, dark room. You're like, oh, I'll fall in love there. And then the actual course, though, the teacher was older. I think he didn't care about being there, but he never really, it wasn't like an inspiring class or whatever. It was just very like, this is how you do this. This is how you do this. But there were a few of us in class that kind of took a little more seriously than he did. But he never once said, and that's probably my fault for being an idiot, but he never once said, hey, you can do this for a career. You know that, right? Like people do this and make money and they can like, eat and stuff. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that's a thing. I honestly, in college, that's how dumb I am. I'm in college and I'm in this class. I have no idea like that's a career option.
What were you in school for? Like what were you studying?
Graphic design.
Okay.
Well, first it was art education. And then I quickly, like very quickly, like the first day of college, I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. And then I was like, what's this graphic design thing? Like, this was like 97. Like I didn't even know. I've never been on a computer.
Yeah,
I didn't want to give away your age, but like digital wasn't even an option when you were getting into photography, right?
No. I'm 41. I'm 41.
I'm 40, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, like Sarah, how old are you? Like, what are you, 20?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm 31.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're still a baby.
My first camera was a 2 megapixel something.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. But anyway,
you went all out.
I did. Anyway, continue.
You can print like a one for somebody's wallet with that. Yeah, I've never been on a computer. So when I was in like drawing 101 or design 101, we were doing everything on paper. It was 2D. And the guy said, well, I think you guys are ready for graphic design like next quarter. And I was like, what is that? What do you mean? What is that? I didn't even know what it was. Like personal computers weren't as big, like Mac, the iMac wasn't even, well, maybe started to be a thing. No one had like Photoshop at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one had Illustrator at home. So I remember going to the graphic design classes and being like, oh, okay, it's like everything is graphic design, literally everything. So that was really cool. And I did that for a while. But then when I got the graphic design job, I noticed all the photos sucked that I had to work with. Like all the websites I were building for people had the worst photos. So I would end up taking this little crappy, probably a 2 megapixel camera like you had, Sarah, probably the same one. And I would go to these places that we did work for and take all these photos. And yeah, and then I would end up using that. And I was like, oh man, there's like a thing here about photography, So I don't know. I see how I go on tangents and I lose track of what I was even talking about.
So you just transitioned to making photography a business for yourself? Is that what you're saying?
It took a little while. Yeah. So I was gone for a little while. I lived in a van or a bus with some dudes for a little while. That sounds bad. I was in a band. Okay, we'll bring it up. All right. I was in a band. I
what
traveled.
was the name of your band?
It was called Metallica. Have you ever heard of Metallica? Just a little band that toured around. Metallica. Yeah. No, it was called Trust Company. We got signed in 02 and we did, or 01, and our album came out in 02. We did Warped Tour. We're on Geffen Records. And during those like years, I was like, I need like a really good camera. So I bought like a DSLR. It's like a 10D, the first Canon 10D. Remember that one? Like the screen was like an inch wide or whatever. But I would shoot these things and then like just random stuff that happened or whatever. And then we were in LA doing our second record and I really got into the photography aspect. I was like, this is really cool. I could put it on my little crappy laptop and pull it up and on my Adobe, my hacked version of Photoshop and do some stuff to it. and was like, oh, this is really kind of fun. So a friend of a friend, she's like a model and she was like, let's just go shoot all day and you can just get practice. Like, oh, this sounds awesome. And so I took like 1,200 photos and they all sucked except for like maybe 8 or 5, whatever. And then I had them printed and I was like, this is really cool. And they're like, hey, quit messing around with that camera. Come record your bass parts, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, and then that's when I was like, I think I'm going to quit the band and do photography. So that's kind of what I did. And then I came home and met a partner here. Her name is Kim. And we did a company called Kimbox Photography, which we still do. And then that's how the lab kind of came out of that. I would bring film to wedding. I would shoot weddings with the 10D and 20D or whatever. And I noticed I was like, yeah, it's fine, but like something's missing. Like I was like, what is missing in this whole thing? Like, why does it not look right? And I was moving. I happened to be moving from Prattville, which is like where I graduated. It's just like 20 minutes north here. And then I moved back home to Montgomery. When I was moving, I found my backpack from college because I keep everything. And I found my negatives. And I was like, in the same negative folder, I found like some prints I made in the darkroom. And I was like, damn, those look way better than what I'm doing now. Like the tones, you know what I mean? Like in a darkroom print,
Yeah.
Like versus a 10D. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, big difference.
So you're saying the limitations of early digital were enough to push you back to film because
That's a good way of putting it. I've never said it that way. I've told the story 15 times and I've never really. So, but yeah, it was like the 10D and 20D. I was like, highlights are all just, gone. I don't know. I was just missing something, the crop chip. And I was like, it doesn't, yeah, it's photography, but it just looks shitty. And I was like, I got to fix this. So when I found that like box of negatives and the, not just negatives, but the prints themselves, I was like, oh, this has a really cool look. And then everything I was searching like online, cause like I'm this dude, when it's research time, put me in a room with a headphone set. Like, did I say headphone set? Is that like a thing? Like headphones. And I'll research the crap out of something. Like I'll know so much about it before I like pull the trigger and buy something or whatever. So I look online, I find these killer shots. I'm like, what is that on? And it was like, oh, Hasselblad 501. Okay. What is that? Okay. That's this camera. What is medium format? Okay. And then, oh, that's a killer. What is that? RZ67. What the hell is an RZ67? I don't even know what that is. And then I look at a picture of it and I'm like, that looks intimidating. What is that? And then, I'd keep doing that and I'd find these shots that were like epic. And it was always like medium format, 120, 220. I'm like, what the hell is all these numbers? Like, I'm not good in math. What is this? So, you know what I mean? Like you're looking at something and someone's like, oh, that's the XT1101. You're like, what the hell? I don't know what that is.
My language.
So I went to a local camera shop and a good friend of mine, Phil at Capital Filmworks, who is in town. And he kind of like sat me down for like an hour and was like,
here's the world of medium format.
This is what it is, dude. This is what it is. He had like a little army box full of like almost like souvenir box, but it's full of his negatives,
Yeah.
So he's like, now this is 4x5 and this is 8x10. And anything you shoot with 8x10 is art. I was like, oh, that's a sunflower, bro, but it looks dope
enough to shoot that. So yeah, it might as well be art.
Yeah.
Well, so you shoot weddings now though, right?
I do. Uh-huh.
But you mostly shoot digital?
I shoot a little bit of both, to be honest. Like I'll shoot, it really depends on like, okay. And I'll explain because people are like, you own a lab, you don't shoot film. I do shoot film, but here's the thing. I live in Montgomery. The market in Montgomery for weddings is not like California. It's not like Miami. It's not like New York. Our budgets are nowhere near what you guys see everywhere else, right? In the country. So even if I shot everything in film, I'm cutting into profits so much that it's like, I'm not charging 10 grand a wedding. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm not charging close to that. So what I do is I shoot the stuff that I'm really pumped about on film. I'm not going to shoot the reception. Actually I have shot some with like a straight on flash on a Leica, and that's really fun to do. And I'll shoot a couple rolls that way, but I'm not shooting all the formals on film. I'm not shooting the drunk dudes. I'm not shooting all that on film. I have to conserve what I use just because of the restriction of the budget. I have to be smart, So I probably could charge more if I say like it's all film, but like I don't know if I actually could in this market. So I'm in a market that doesn't really call for it. You see what I'm saying? I can't afford to have an assistant that like holds and loads my film. So what I do is I kind of do it like where I'll load the film up and then I'll just wait for the shots that I really think are important, right? So that kind of comes into some issues with being consistent with the digital shots and do I match? And I don't match any of that up, but that's just my personal business.
Do you feel like digital is good enough to stack up to film these days, unlike it was when you first started in digital?
Way more now than it used to, for sure. Now the quality has gotten so much better. For sure on digital, like no doubt. But is it film? No. Will it ever be filmed? No. Is it close? I mean, I don't know. What do you consider, close? But is it good? Yeah, you can get killer digital shots, no problem. But so my personal work, all my personal work is all film. Like everything I shoot for me, it's all film. And it's not better. It's not worse. For me, it's what I want to shoot. This is not a digital versus film argument. That's like way done, but
it's just your preference.
It's my preference. For me, when I see a shot that I've done, on, medium format or even 35 or any film, and, I print it, I like just stare at it. I'm like, damn, that looks good. You know what I mean? Like not the shot, but like the tones. I'm more looking at like the tones and everything. I'm like, I just love that, man. I just want more of that. And I just stare at it. Like, I don't want to shoot something that I don't really, care about so much and end up looking back and being like, I wish I would have shot that the way I wanted to shoot it. So anything personal work is all on film. It's because I like to look at it. And I don't care about anybody else. I like to look at it. It's about me. I'm selfish, you know?
So I know that a lot of times you'll shoot, I've seen you at different conferences or events teach a film 101 class. Is there a standout question or a couple of questions that are always asked in those workshops?
How to incorporate it into their work is one that I get. Like, how do you kind of start it? How do you meter? What camera should I get? That's a big one. What camera should I get?
What camera should they get?
Yeah. What?
Well, I guess that's my other question. What advice would you give for someone who is a photographer or wants to be a photographer and's never shot film? How do they get started? Or what's one good thing to keep in mind?
So my whole spiel, however you say that, my whole spill on this whole deal is it's like this. Okay, if you shoot Nikon or Canon DSLR, the best way to get into it is buy the Canon 1V, which is almost identical film body to like the 5Ds, right? It has the same familiar, wheel on the back. It has the same, it's literally the same size.
Yeah, it's got the same mount and everything.
Yeah, it's the same mount. You can use your lenses that you already have. That camera's $500 or $600, and it's a beast. It's insane. And you can get the Nikon F5 or F6 or F4, whatever.
For F100.
And you can.
Ooh,
What's
I love
that?
the F100.
F100.
Yeah, you can get F100 too. Yeah, they're like $200 or $300. And you can pop the your lenses on there, and you're going to get the same experience that your DSLR without looking on the back of the camera at your shot as you would with your DSLR. The only thing is when you shoot medium format, it is a whole new world. It is like a whole new world. You know what I mean? For real.
It totally is.
It is. It's a whole new world. So if you want to kind of go for it, go medium format. But if you just want to kind of get comfortable with it, get you a Nikon, whatever you shoot that fits your lenses, get a body for that, and go fire away. Because the autofocus is going to be quicker. You're going to be familiar with it. And that's the most comfortable way you can start.
I mean, do you recommend they start with a black and white film or start with a color film?
I say that because I started with black and white. And okay, so I have this love-hate relationship for 35 color. 35 color for me is like hit or miss, right? Like medium format color has so much resolution in it and so much information that if you are in a not quite optimal lighting situation, it still looks badass. 35, if you're not in the quite optimal situation, it can look a little grainy, it look a little shitty. And somebody right now is like just triggered, like, how dare he? All I shoot is 35 color.
I'm sitting in the room right now.
I'm super
triggered.
Format snob. I'm a super format snob. I don't own a 35 millimeter camera, but I have a ton of medium and large format cameras.
Right. And I'm not knocking it. All I'm saying is for me, not for you, not for anybody else, for me, what I have noticed when I'm at an event and I shoot 35 color, if it's not optimal lighting situation, I'm unhappy. But I would suggest shooting just Tri-X because like that is a beautiful film. And when you get it back, you're like, really damn, black and white film looks so good.
So something you were saying earlier, you were looking at your old prints. That brings me back to your other business you have, Indie Print Company. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
What got you doing that? Like, I think that everyone should print their photos all the time, regardless if it's digital or film. Like, print your photos because when you can see it and you can hold it and you can look at it like a tangible thing, that changes your relationship to those images.
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's kind of the base of it is like, we were seeing so many people just like post them on Instagram or like, just getting their images back and not doing anything with them. And not that we would see what they're doing, but I know they're not printing them.
Again, I feel triggered, but continue.
Say that again.
I said I feel triggered again.
Oh, Lord. She shoots 35 color and she don't print them. How dare her?
How dare.
Is that what you're talking about? Just you triggered because like you don't print yours either?
Yeah, I
don't print
want
everything
to print.
I do.
Well, I want to print. And of course, I used to print when I was in school. And I print when I absolutely need to. But
right.
I would like to get in the habit of just printing to print, to hold it, to see it on paper. So I'm looking forward to you selling me on that.
Yeah.
I think
I cheat a lot because I shoot a lot of instant film, and it's like that's the print.
So as far as the print co, we were just like, hey, let's have an avenue for people to see. Cause like, okay, so back in like 04, 05, I was like, hey, I want to get into printing, but I want to get into like Z-Clay printing. I want to print on like Hahnemühle paper, Hahnemühle, however you say it, the really nice paper. And I went to at WPPI, they gave me like a sample pack. And I was like, this is what I want to print on. I don't want to print on anything else. I want to print on 310 bright white. I want to print on the torsion. I want to print on etching paper. Like I want to print on these kick ass papers that you can tear the edges. Like, and dude, my leg's shaking right now. I'm so pumped because like when you have a shot that you love, and you print it on that paper, it looks insane. Like
why that paper?
Dude, because it's not your traditional like photo paper. It is cotton. They're from like, their company started like, I don't know, 300,000 years ago, like before Jesus kind of came. They were here. They were making paper for years. And like when you touch it, it's like soft and it's not. And when you tear it, you can see the fibers in the paper. Like they have bamboo. They have freaking everything. It's all like killer selection of papers. So I was like, I want to print on this. I want to tear the edges. I want people that shoot film to be able to see their work in this light, not just on the screen. I want you to hold this thing because it does, like, it changes everything. You're like, oh my God, I want to do more of this. It's like saying this is the final step. Once you see it and hold it and you frame it and you hang it up, it's a whole nother thing. It is a whole nother thing. I have pieces in my house that are my kids on film. Like we took a trip to New York. I took a picture of my wife holding my son. It's just like him looking over his shoulder. That is framed in my house. It will pass down to them. And hopefully they'll pass it down or they'll throw it away. I don't really know what they're going to do with it. But for me, in my head, they're going to keep it forever.
Do you just one more question about this. Do you just print, or I know that I've seen that you do like wedding albums and stuff.
We do
albums.
albums.
You sell any kind of accessories around printing?
Yes. We do albums. We do the fine art prints. We do this leather portfolio with prints in them, like matted albums too. So there's a bunch of different options there, but it stems from just the love of printing,
The last thing I want to talk about is you have an event coming up at the end of October called Long Live Film. Can you just tell us what that's going to be about, what people are going to get out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been wanting to do a workshop for probably 2 or 3 years now. And we did a little mini one and it was in town and it was really fun. And so we decided, let's just go all out. So we got tons of people coming to this thing as far as like, speakers. We have Ben Chase, we have Ryan Muirhead, we have Elizabeth Messina, we have Joel Serrato. I'm going to miss so many people, but we have, oh my gosh, I'm just drawing a blank. It's on the website, but go to longlivefilmworkshop.com and it'll be there. And then we have live shoots and we have fireside chats and we have, it's just going to be a lot of fun.
I saw on Instagram that everyone's getting a free camera.
Yeah, everyone's getting a everyone's getting a Diana F from
wow.
Loma.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go to this. It's during the week though. I can't get off work.
Yeah. October 21st to the 24th.
And everyone will get a free $50 Lens Rentals gift card.
Booyah!
Cross promo.
And a bottle opener.
Oh, good. You got the package. That's good.
Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's awesome. So Yan Palmer's going to be there. She's amazing. Just a lot of killer speakers that are, Ryan Ray, who shoots tons of weddings. The goal as the speakers, I wanted to mix people who are known and unknown, but the ones who are unknown that use our lab, like unknown meaning like they don't have like millions of Instagram followers, and people that I'm like, I want people to hear from you because you have something to say. Like you are successful in your business, and I want people to see that you don't have to be Instagram famous to be just a working kick-ass photographer. You know what I mean? There's people who are unknown that are murdering it, y'all, like killing it, that are just
you've got a killer lineup though. Those your set of photographers you've got coming are great.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to hear everybody. And I've seen Ryan talk like 5 times, and dude, it's so good that like every time I hear it, I'm like, everyone's crying. Like if you don't cry, you're an idiot. And then I've seen Yan talk and everyone's crying. Like it's crazy good. It's emotional. They're talking about their work and their body of work, and like, it's so good, so good. So I had to bring them to Alabama because no one comes here for anything. So I'm like, I want to do it here. So yeah, really pumped about that. So yeah, go to the workshop. Everybody buy a ticket and come on. But
yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, do it tomorrow or today. Is this live? We should do it live. Let's do it right now. We gotta get tickets, man. Get some people out here.
Well, it's been really great having you in today.
Oh, that's it. Oh, so
yeah,
that's
I
it.
think we're gonna wrap this up.
Let's not end it. Let's keep going. What else can we talk about? I'm just kidding. Everyone has like stopped listening right now.
We're gonna put some links to Indie Film Lab, Indie Print Company, and the Long Live Film event in the show notes, and maybe even a track from Spotify from Trust Company.
Oh my god!
A very cool picture of Josh eating a corn dog.
Well, this has been fun, y'all. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for talking
awesome.
to us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Lens Rentals podcast. If you have any questions or comments, let us know at podcast@lensrentals.com. I'll leave you with this quote from Joe McAnally. If you want something to look interesting, don't light all of it.